Yes, indeed, man. I mean, had to bring you back, man. This documentary got everybody talking, people going at it. So, it was only right to bring you back and get your point of view, man. But I want to get right into it, man. 50 and Ja. How you feel about both of them going at it? You seen it?
I couldn't do nothing but see it, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Because 50, tried to smash him with one of the stories that we told on Art of Dialogue before. But what people don't realize is that the story that they put out there is like that. Having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't able to tell that story because they didn't have no intel on that story or what went down, or they didn't do their investigations right, which he also led up to the reason why Wolf ain't here today. You understand? They didn't tell that story. They didn't tell a story about Jessica Rosenbaum, who was at the City College situation. You understand? When it was Puff, Heavy D, and Jessica.
And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff.
The Diddy documentary has stirred intense discussion, rattling the entertainment world and placing powerful figures under scrutiny. While the film claims to reveal hidden truths, one key voice is noticeably missing. Gene Deal, a longtime critic of Diddy's inner circle. Gene now says that important material never reached the public. According to him, certain footage was left out intentionally, raising questions about how complete the documentary really is. This leads to a larger issue. Why was someone with first-hand insight excluded from a project meant to expose the full story? Many assume Gene chose to stay away, but he strongly denies that. He says early conversations made it clear he was expected to participate. Calls were exchanged, plans were discussed, and the vision involved multiple voices addressing business dealings, personal history, and street-level realities. Then, Gene claims, everything changed. Once money, control, and decision-making entered the discussion, the tone shifted. Promises no longer matched actions, and the true power behind the project appeared far different than advertised. According to Gene, the name promoting the documentary did not carry the influence people believed. That realization, he says, explains why certain voices and certain truths never made it to the screen.
Yeah, man. I mean, I had to bring you back. This documentary got everyone talking, man. A lot of people want to know why you wasn't in it, man.
Well, first and foremost, I thought I was going to be in the documentary at first until I started talking to that director. I think her name is Stapleton. I don't know her name. I don't know, man. Me and 50 talked like 45 minutes. The producers had been calling me and everything. So this one night, 50 called me up and, they got him on the phone. Me and him was just talking. We was talking about old times. Sit down with Black Hands, sit down with, with Puff Kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be doing. You know what I'm saying? So I told him that I was going to, have Kirk and Tim. Kirk would be the one who talk about the business part of it. Tim would be the one who talk about the growing up phase with Diddy and everything and over there working in the record industry with him and stuff like that. They was like family. And I was gonna talk about, the street stuff, what was going on with Bad Boy, with the security, with Wolf, with the City College, with, the time that I knew about when I was with him up until about early 2004 or something like that. But basically the streets and then the traveling with him and the atmosphere and everything. And then go back into the Notorious Big stuff with the Tupac and the whole 9 yards, all the stuff that I knew, you know what I'm saying? So we was talking and he sounded like, yo, listen to him. They gonna spare no expense with this whole documentary. So I said, all right, cool. So what I did was I spoke to Tim and I spoke to Kirk Burroughs. And I was like, yo, because I had Tim number. Tim didn't know how to get in touch with Kirk. Kirk didn't know how to get in touch with Tim. But Kirk was trying to tell me, give him the number with the Tim. I said, nah, I ain't doing that. So I gave one of the producers the number in the whole 9 yards to get in touch with Tim, because I want to see him get money, because I know Tim got a hell of a story with Puff. So then I talked to Tim and I told him, yo, listen here, man, we should go in as a package deal. All three of us, we could tell a hell of a story about this whole documentary. You know what I'm saying? From front to start. And then whatever stuff that they get and everything like that. So let's go in there and ask them for 50 a piece. You know what I'm saying? So Tim was like, with it, yo, Gene, whatever, go ahead like that. Kirk was like, yeah, okay, cool, Gene. It was like a general census that we was gonna do this in a whole package deal. You know what I'm saying? And then I started speaking to the producers and everything like that, because 50 had told me himself that they was going to spare no cost in doing this, because he wanted to tell the story, and he wanted to tell the story like it was supposed to be told and everything like that. I said, yeah, okay. So then the director, I got to get her name, man, because it don't even sound, I want to put her on blast, because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy, and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about, you got footage, you got clothing, you got, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received, and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I'm like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000-$15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and go out of this documentary. And he definitely don't pay, he determine what somebody get paid. It's not his documentary like that. I was like, oh, so if it's not his documentary and I spoke to him like that, I don't need to be doing nothing with you, because I'm doing this on the strength of him. But you gonna pay me if I do it. So it went back and forth, you know what I'm saying, for a little bit, and then they had Kirk Burroughs giving me calls and everything like that. What are you calling me for?
Gene Deal has begun calling out what he says were major omissions in the documentary series, and one absence stands out above all others: the death of Diddy's longtime bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones. Wolf, Gene explains, was far more than personal security. He was the central figure responsible for movement, protection, and high-risk decisions during Bad Boy's most turbulent years. His role was critical, yet the documentary barely mentions his name or addresses what happened to him. Gene strongly challenges the version of events quietly suggested in the series. He disputes claims about responsibility and pushes back on the familiar narrative of a single incident sparking a sweeping East Coast-West Coast conflict. According to him, that framing oversimplifies the situation and shifts attention away from where accountability may truly belong. What makes Wolf's absence more troubling, Gene says, are the warnings that were allegedly ignored. He claims Wolf sensed danger early, refused to travel without strict security measures, and repeatedly voiced concerns about certain trips. Safety, Gene says, always came first for Wolf. Even when pressure pushed him otherwise, that if someone as central as Wolf could be minimized or nearly erased, Gene argues, it raises a serious question. What other details were softened, skipped, or left out entirely to preserve a preferred storyline?
Wolf had already told, Anthony Wolf Jones had already told them, if you're not taking two tour buses of my niggas from the Valley, that's Co-op City in the Bronx, the Valley in the Bronx, if you're not taking these 2 tour buses of my niggas out there, I'm not going. Had told Puff them, had told Kirk Burroughs. You understand? I went down there and Kirk Burroughs called me up. He said, yo, Gene, you and Wolf, I got y'all tickets to LA. I said, all right, cool. So I go down there and I pick up the tickets to LA. I got Wolf ticket. I got a Wolf ticket. So I'm calling Wolf up. I said, yo, Wolf, I got your ticket to go to LA. Wolf said, I ain't going. I said, what you mean you ain't going? He said, yo, Gene, I ain't gonna tell you how I'm making I ain't gonna tell you how to make your money, but I'm gonna let you know this. I told Puff them if they wasn't gonna take 2 tour buses of my niggas out there with us, I'm not going. Wolf is the head of all the functions that has to do with Puff dealing with security. I have my own contract with Puff, yeah. Paul Alford ran Green Gate Security, which is the daily operations of Puff stuff. That's his house, his cars, his transportation. He ran the office, the bad boy office, the clothing, all. He ran the daily operation with his security. Wolf is over whatever's happening with Puff. You understand? Wolf tells Puff them and tell Kirksboro them, no, if y'all not going out there right, nobody should go out there at all. Kirk calls me, I said, yo, Gene, you gonna go? I said, yeah, I'll go, bro. He said, Gene, I said, yo, dog, but we shouldn't be going out there. I tell Kirk the whole, yo, Gene, all y'all gonna be doing is going to the studio and y'all gonna go to Soul Train and go to the studio. Y'all not hanging out, y'all not doing nothing. All me and Puff did when we went there that month was hang out. And I told people all the time, and I said in the documentary before, I thought this kid had a death wish because all we did was hang out. We never saw Big at not one of the events that me and him went to. The House of Blues, movie theaters, not the California, the Celebrity Club, I guess. Is it Celebrity? No, begins with a C. Never seen him in none of the clubs, none of the places. You understand? Big ain't coming to none of the places. The one time Big went out is when he got. The one club that he went out to is and that's where he got. So Wolf did not and was not going anywhere that had to do with California. And it wasn't because of the Jake situation. It was that he wanted to be safe, and the only way he felt safe if he was going out there with the dudes from his clique. And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his and that with BMF. That's a big segment in my book that I wrote I wrote a whole big situation in my book regarding that, Mighty. And I know you're doing this. I want to say that right there because I was there the night that Meech had promised Puff, you know what I'm saying, He ain't have to worry about Suge Knight. He ain't have to worry about nobody from this point on. And telling Puff some shit made him think that he could talk to Wolf any kind of way. Because if anybody knew, BMF was powerful back then. They had dudes from everywhere. And Meech telling him he ain't have to worry about nobody no more. It made Puff think that he could tell Wolf that he didn't need Wolf no more.
Gene Deal also claims the documentary contains serious inaccuracies. He argues that Kirk Burroughs was portrayed as fully transparent, while key facts were either reshaped or left unexplored. Point one issue Gene highlights is the claim that Biggie's funeral expenses came from Biggie's own funds. Gene questions that explanation, noting that Kirk was closely involved in financial and operational matters at the time and would have had direct knowledge of how that money was handled. Yet, he says, the documentary failed to press for clear answers. Gene also raises concerns about what happened after Biggie's death. He points to individuals who gained lasting control and influence, despite claims that Biggie intended to distance himself from them. According to Gene, decisions involving publishing rights, marketing power, and executive recognition appear to have been made after Biggie was no longer able to speak for himself. Rather than challenging those shifts, Gene says the documentary moved past them. His main criticism is not only what was said, but what was never questioned. He believes those omissions shield certain relationships and reputations, leaving critical details unexplored. If Gene's account is accurate, he argues, the documentary may have revealed only a small part of a far more complex and uncomfortable story.
Yeah, Kirk Burroughs, he also said in a documentary that, Diddy, he used big budget to pay for, Big's funeral.
Yeah, when I heard that ain't the first time I heard it though, bro. They said Big had paid for his funeral through his budget. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody would know that, Kirk Burroughs would know that. And I heard Wayne Barrows came out and said some, but to refute that. You know what I'm saying? But if Miss Wallace got a check and the check, if she got if they had Biggie's budget and that was taken out, money was taken out that budget for his funeral, he did use it. And if anybody knew that, Kirk Burroughs would know that because he was handling the money and the operations at that time. Wayne Barrows was one of the dudes, him and Mark Pitts, that actually was managing Big's affairs. You understand? They was his manager. Big had told me that he was gonna get rid of them because they didn't know what they was doing before he died. I had a conversation with Big. Big said, I'm getting rid of them because they the one effing me up because they the one that convinced him to sell his publishing and his marketing to Puff. They was Puff boys. I guess they met in school or whatever like that. But Big was gonna get rid of them. But because he died and his mother didn't know the business, she kept him around for years. If you look at anything that happened with the Notorious Biggs and his camp, you see Wayne Barrows on there as executive producer. And he was just a manager of some of Big affairs. He was executive producers of damn near everything that went on that had to do with. If Miss Wallace was the executive producer, he was the executive producer too. Look at some of the things that was done. And now he's suing, trying to get money from Faith because of, he's saying that she has to pay the Wallace estate and Miss Wallace is dead. Big is dead. If the estate is anything, it's CJ, Tatiana, and Faith. That's the estate. But he's saying there's some other kind of thing that he's suing them for. So Wayne Barrows is the dude that call it any way you want to, that's been Sherwood Forest, and he got big them in Sherwood Forest. I'm gonna put it that way. He got his estate in Sherwood Forest.
Crazy, man. But yeah, Kirk Burrows, he spoke a lot in this documentary, man. He was letting everything go. He also said that, he did take the Rolling Stone cover from Big after Big died.
Bruh, you have to look at his sociopath, his narcissism, and see that it shows you he really didn't care about Big like he did. What Kirk didn't tell the truth about that whole thing is that even when we was in California, Kirk tried to act like that he didn't know that Puff told him that Big wasn't going to London. I know what the question you asked, but I gotta get this out, bro. Is that on Thursday, me and Puff was in a limousine. Kirk Burrows was getting Puff the itinerary of what Big and what's his respect, and told him that we was leaving Saturday, this, that, and the third, the whole 9 yards. On Thursday, Puff told Kirk Burrows, Big ain't going nowhere. He told him that Thursday, Big was not going nowhere. He said, I don't care what you do, you could go do whatever you want to do, but Big ain't going nowhere. Kirk Burrows was telling him how he had set up this whole and how Arista had paid off all this money for Big to be. Puff was adamant that Big wasn't going nowhere. Now, we were shooting the Hypnotized video. Me and Big was in the Winnebago, and Big was telling me his whole life story. What he wanted to do, his plans, all this shit. He even say, yo, Gene, y'all would take you with me, but you love that nigga too much. Nigga, I don't love nobody like that too much. What's up? He said, yo, what's up with the money? I said, nigga, you broke. You know what I'm saying? You owe Mike Gadget $30,000 for, I'm just going in on Big, and we just talking all kinds of smoking Newports.
The release of The Reckoning, a Netflix documentary executive produced by 50 Cent, has once again shaken the hip-hop world. What began as an examination of Diddy's controversies quickly reignited long-standing rivalries, placing 50 Cent back at the center of industry tension. While Jay-Z has remained publicly silent, many fans believe the documentary's impact has quietly pressured some of the biggest names in the business. Online speculation escalated fast, with rumors suggesting figures like Ja Rule and others were discussing how to respond. The chatter intensified when Ja Rule was seen interacting online with someone linked to 50's past, fueling claims of behind-the-scenes coordination. Some fans even suggested major industry players were preparing a united front against 50. But 50 appeared unfazed, responding with sarcasm and implying that his success alone forces rivals to band together. When Gene Deal was asked about the growing tension between 50 Cent and Jay-Z, he didn't shy away. Instead, he argued that much of the public narrative is distorted. According to Gene, old stories are being selectively clipped, reposted, and reshaped to fit trending opinions, while crucial context is ignored. That he stresses that key details, especially who is actually present during certain moments, have repeatedly been left out. Gene suggests that what's circulating now is an incomplete version of events, one that overlooks how things truly unfolded behind closed doors.
I want to get right into it, man. 50 and Ja, how you feel about both of them going at it? You seen it?
I couldn't do nothing but see it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because 50, tried to smash him with one of the stories that we told on Art of Dialogue before. But what people don't realize is that the story that they put out there is like that there was no girls in the room. I told the story and I said that there was girls in the room. I just want to get that out there straight before I tell you how it all went about and what really happened.
There was Sarah Chapman and her girlfriend. They flew with us from Atlanta. But let me just start the story like this. Check it out. Me and Puff went to this exotic bookstore, brother. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time I ever went to an exotic bookstore, you know, with Puff. I didn't know he even did that. But we was in Atlanta. So when we went to the door, they gave him a brown paper bag. So I guess this is a place that he was used to and people knew him there. So when they gave him a brown paper bag, Puff was just going around the store, just picking items off the shelves and stuff like that, putting them in a brown paper bag. So then, you know, I was behind him and no Diddy, but I was about 3 feet behind him, you know what I'm saying, as he was putting stuff and putting it in his bag and stuff like that. So this one particular place that he was put up there, he had to reach up kind of high and get it. So he just started pulling things out, and it was he was pulling a lot of them off there. So I was like, so I looked up and the thing said butt plugs. When he walking down the thing, said butt plugs. I said, hey yo, just to mess with him. I said, hey yo, what are you getting these for? And he said, can I do my shopping by myself? I said, yes, you can. And I waited up at the register for him, you know, because they had the big counter up there. So when he came to the counter, I said, yo, I'm finna see what this one this mofo is putting in his bag, because I know he gonna have to take everything and put it on the counter so the dude could count it, right? My man, when he came there, he gave the dude a wad of hundreds like this. You know what I'm saying? He gave him a wad of hundred and just put it up there. The dude ain't even, you know what I'm saying? He ain't even want to know what was in the bag. I was like, yo, wow. So then we was catching a G4 jet. You know, we had to go to the airstrip because we was catching a G4 jet and we was going to North Carolina to do this show. So somehow he had Ja Rule to go with us, you know what I'm saying? And him and Ja was talking. And this whole time him and Ja is talking, he talking about Ja going at Jigga. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy. But he was talking about Ja getting at Jay-Z. And he was talking bad and talking crazy about Jay-Z, and how Ja was talking about if it wasn't for him, that Jay wouldn't be the artist he was. He got him started. You know, he wrote certain things and stuff like that to put him out there, because, you know, back in the day, nobody was even effing with Jay like that. So, but Puff was trying to, he was adamant about Ja going at Jay. You understand? So, we get to the hotel. We're in the presidential suite and all this stuff like that. So, Ja and him is, you know, chilling and everything with Jay, eating everything, shit like that. So then they all went to the room. It was like him, Ja, Sarah, and her girlfriend. They went to the room. I don't know what they were doing in there. I didn't give a f. But Puff told me, Gene, do not let nobody come in this room. Don't let nobody come in this room. So hour or so went by, whatever like that. Time went by. The doorbell rang. And it was this dude at the door saying that he was Ja's cousin. And I was like, he said, I'm here for Ja Rule. I said, who you? He said, I'm his cousin and everything like that. He said, I said, but yo, he busy right now. I'm telling the dude that he's busy. You know, the dude is talking about, yo, but I want to talk to him. I said, yo, bro, they don't want to be bothered. You know, I'm trying to, you know, tell this kid, yo, they don't want to be bothered, bro. You know what I'm saying? He said, yo, that's my cousin. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, listen here, bro. They're in a room. They don't want to be bothered. You know, and you could see that there's only one room going back that way.
What followed the knock changed everything. Gene says the encounter was quick, intense, and completely unexpected. He describes it as a moment about enforcing boundaries, ones he claims Ja Rule ignored. But Gene suggests it wasn't random. He believes it was part of a calculated pattern. According to Gene, Puff was quietly pushing people into tense situations to trigger reactions and stir conflict, especially involving Jay-Z. Whether those involved saw it coming or were simply caught in the middle remains unclear.
He talking about he was going through the room. I said, yo, bro, Jesus Christ had to come down here and take the breath out of my body before you go in that room. You understand? Next thing you know, I grabbed him and we started. It wasn't no wrestling thing like that because he couldn't handle it at the time. He could front and tell his friends because he didn't hit me up on Instagram. He could tell his friends all he want to, but that if Puff and Jai tell you the story, that nigga was upside the piano. You understand? So now, Jai and Puff run out. They butt the neck and they was grabbing towels. You understand? They was grabbing towels. And then Puff was like, yo, Gene, what's going on? Jai was like, yo, he said, that's my cousin. I was like, yo, bruh. He tried to get in the room and I wasn't letting him get in the room, bruh. And then Puff looked at Jai like this, you know, what that looked like, he said. And then Jai said, you don't want to be up in that room because there was a whole lot of freaking going on. So I started laughing, dude left, they went back in the room and that was it. You know what I'm saying? So now the story grew as if Jai was in there and him and Diddy was doing, you know, something. And like I said that they were doing something. I don't know what the F they were doing, bruh. The only reason I know was some freaky things going up in there that Jai really didn't even understand because he said, yo, you ain't want to be up in there because there's a whole lot of freaky on. So I was like, I wouldn't have known nothing. I wouldn't even care. And I don't care today. But you know how the internet is. They cut and paste what they want to paste and they put what they want to put to make it seem like I was saying this dude and Puff was in there, you know, alone. And they wasn't. You understand? And that was them. You know, they did their thing, you know, up in there with the honeys in there. I guess. I can only guess. So, listen, bro, I've said this 1,000 times. It was Sarah Chapman and her girlfriend. Now, Sarah Chapman, you know, if people don't know who she is, now she's one of Puff baby mamas. But prior to her being one of Puff baby mama, this is the same girl that was dating Puff best friend, Corey Jacobs, and she was dating Tupac. You understand? So now she, like I told you before, she was the one that Puff betted in the office. He said, yo, I bet you I could get her from Gary Payton. You understand? And I didn't know she dated Gary Payton, but this is what Puff is saying. And it was a $500 bet that he said he'd get it in 2 weeks. We was out in Chicago, me, him, and Sarah. We was at some kind of function that Puff had to do a in-store and like a walkthrough. You know what I'm saying, at one of his friends' parties. So, you know, she was out there with her. Next thing you know, he got her like he said he would. You know what I'm saying? That incident with him and Jai, I feel bad, you know, kind of, sort of, really, because everybody's trying to make it seem like, you know, Jai was some kind of weirdo, you know, but it is what it is, bro. I just told you what I seen. Both of them ran out the room, butt ass, grabbing towels, you know what I'm saying, with them chicks in there, you know what I'm saying? So whatever they did, that was on them. But that's the kind of games Puff play in order to get people to do what he want them to do. You understand? He got them, he wanted Jai to go at Jay-Z, so he got these chicks to go at Jai. You understand what I'm saying? Whether he did it or fell into it, I don't know. Because I don't know him and Jay-Z beef or why they was beefing in the first place or whatever the situation was. People who are close to either one of them may know more than I do on that. But I knew Puff was working to get Jai to go at Jay, and that was happening.
The real question is this. Is Gene Deal finally exposing the truth? Or is the documentary only a shadow of the story, hiding the parts no one was meant to see? How many secrets are still buried? How many voices were silenced? The answers may be closer than we think, or still locked away. If you want to follow every twist, hit subscribe. Because sometimes what's left in the shadows tells the real story.